Across the United States, from coast to coast, students at prestigious universities are rising in protest, demanding their institutions sever financial ties with Israel and any companies that support its ongoing conflict in Gaza. Inspired by the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement against Israel's policies towards Palestinians, these protests have gained momentum as the Israel-Hamas war surpasses the 6-month mark. Stories of suffering in Gaza have fueled the fires of these demonstrations, with over 100 students arrested at Columbia University alone last week, setting a precedent for nationwide action. The heart of these protests lies in various demands, from ending business with military weapon manufacturers supplying to Israel, to halting the acceptance of research funds aiding Israel's military pursuits. This wave of dissent has not only prompted student governments to pass resolutions calling for an end to investments in Israel, but has also evoked responses from university officials and garnered attention from political figures. Despite the efforts of some universities to engage in dialogue, accusations of anti-Semitism have surfaced, complicating the narrative and stressing the need for a careful balance of free speech and the protection of all students. Columbia University has become a focal point of the unrest, with President Manoush Shafik facing potential censure. After narrowly avoiding a police confrontation earlier this week, the university continues intensive negotiations with protesters. U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson, amid his own political turmoil, has stepped into the fray, calling for Shafik's resignation over her handling of the protests. Johnson's involvement underscores the political dimensions of this campus unrest, linking local student activism to national and even international levels of governance and diplomacy. In tandem, other universities have witnessed their own share of demonstrations and confrontations. At the University of Texas at Austin and the University of Southern California, police intervened in protests, arresting several. Meanwhile, Harvard has attempted to preempt protests by imposing restrictions, but to little avail as students continue to rally for divestment and transparency. This nationwide movement has compelled university leaders to balance campus safety with the rights to free speech and protest, albeit with increasing difficulty as the protests gain momentum and visibility. At the core of these protests is a deeply entrenched conflict that spans decades and continents, touching on issues of human rights, geopolitical strife, and the role of academia in social and political activism. The responses from university administrations, governmental authorities, and the protesters themselves reveal the complex interplay between education, politics, and ethics in the modern world. As discussions continue and tensions remain high, the outcome of these protests could mark a significant moment in the relationship between U.S. campuses and global conflicts.